Today, our stock market got absolutely hammered. $100 billion lost in value, fell more than 12%. Worse is that Australians are just getting poorer. High inflation, low growth is just eating at their real disposable income per person. The good news, of course, from the stock market crash, we're not going to get interest rate rises now. The bad news is because the economy is really shaky. But where is the government?
Well, look, let's be clear. Andrew, as you know, and I've said many times, Reserve Bank has got it wrong. It's got it wrong for the last 12 months. It put too many interest rate increases into the system, and now it's being stubborn and won't accept that it has tanked the Australian economy. And for those market analysts out there who keep saying, no, let's keep putting interest rates up. I mean, seriously, the economy is on the brink of a recession. The market is now caught up with the economic statistics. And the economic statistics for the last 3 or 4 months have said the Australians are doing it hard. They've cut back on discretionary expenditure. They're hurting everywhere in the shopping centres. You just got to walk into, any retail centre shops and there's just empty shops all along the way. And the Reserve Bank should not only be not increasing, it should actually take the opportunity tomorrow to correct its mistake and reduce interest rates. Australians are crying out for it. The government has done its part of the job because it's taken pressure off interest rates by running surpluses, and that is as it should be. But for those continuing to argue that interest rates are should be going up, I mean, they just look so dumb right now. And the Reserve Bank have got to understand that it's time to cut rates.
You have been saying that for years, months. But I have to say, you lost me at the government's doing its bit because it's spent a hell of a lot. It's actually added to the pressures. Yeah. But Michael, the problem is,
unfortunately, budgets have got
the government's stuck, Michael. They had a flush of revenue from resources sales, but that's ending and it's going to be run deficits from now on. But Michael, the problem is the government's stuck, right? It either, the Reserve Bank too, they pancake the economy or they let it rip with the inflation, which is a silent thief that's making people poorer by every passing month.
So what you've got to do as a government is take pressure off domestic demand. And the more expenditure a government has, the more money it puts into the marketplace, the more pressure it puts on the labour market, supply chains, etc., etc. As you said, this government is increasing expenditure $135 billion in 2 years. It's going from $627 billion last year to $762 billion in the 25-26 budget. A percentage of GDP expenditure is going from 24.5 to 26.6, right? And as you say, if it wasn't for the mining industry, which Albanese would like to close down, this place would be broke. I mean, thank God for the Australian mining industry that's keeping this place afloat. Two lucky surpluses, nothing to do with Jim Chalmers, everything to do with the mining industry. And basically we're being plunged into deficit next year. This government's drunken, radical, shameless expenditure where they can't control our expenditure, Andrew, is one of the reasons inflation is so high in this country today. Therefore, it's one of the reasons that interest rates are so high today and people are hurting.
Stephen, I've got to ask you this before we go. You might be in a unique, interesting position to comment. You're from England originally. You were born in England. Some of your family lived in some of these hard towns that are now seeing some of these, these tensions, working class areas. What do you make of what's going on in England? What's the lesson for Australia?
Look, I mean, I think you've just got to look at the announcement today about, the threat level has gone up because of lack of social cohesion, whether it's total disinformation, which feeds, and I'm not going into who did it, but the sort of these tensions being fed by social media have led to a direct increase in the threat level in Australia. So what we have to do is be careful and moderate in our language. People who are engaged in public debate, whether it's here on Sky, at which it gets very robust, or importantly from our political leaders, need to understand that their words have an impact. And so it's the duty of everybody, and that includes different sections of the community. And Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
there's
but there you go, you
some
see, there you
community
go.
leaders
You're
inflame
absolutely
it,
right.
inflame it,
Words,
and it's got to stop.
Words